All right, guys, and welcome back to IFBB. Oh, sorry, Alex, is that?
Oh, that's
That
Flash.
Oh, look at that. That's huge.
no, the joke is Alex positioned his pro card above his head, so I'm like, got to get
I
mine in
can
there
see
as well
that.
now and try. I just stick that one in there,
You
Alex.
just wipe it across
Guys,
the
well,
screen like that. And I have
I
not
didn't
seen
quite
it
get how
yet.
to spin my screen around.
yet,
Yes.
Tracy. Welcome back to IFBB Bro CAST, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on episode 5 now. So up to 5. We are lucky enough today to be joined by the amazing Tracy Guille. I hope I
Guile.
pronounced the surname correctly there.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very honored to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Now we're super stoked to have you on the show. Obviously, and Alex, hi to you as well.
Well, may I add that Tracy is actually one of my best friends.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I am.
I'm very, very pleased to have her on this show.
I'm very pleased to be here.
I mean, look, one of the cool things that what we want to try and do, obviously, with the podcast, is shine a light on Australian bodybuilding, amateurs and pros alike as well. So, we're really, really thankful for you making your time. Obviously, entering into your peak week,
Yes.
as of probably tomorrow, which is super exciting for you as well.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also really cool because you just competed, obviously, at Queensland.
Yeah.
You were at the show, so you saw some of the competitors as well.
Yes.
So obviously today it'd be great to touch on, obviously, first of all, who's Tracy and a bit about your background and history and where you've come from. And
Yep.
also we'll see some crazy stories along the way. But also we want to do a review of the Queensland show.
Okay.
And just with some perspective, I
Yep.
always say when the girls come on, when we review the girls, I don't want a couple of creepy dudes sitting here checking out girls in bikinis. So it's good to have that female perspective on how the girls looked as well.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
look, first of all, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Alex, I'll touch with you, mate. How's your week been so far?
It's been good, man. Coming towards the end of this little recomp phase, I suppose you would call it.
In prep, though.
Sorry?
In prep still, obviously.
Yeah. So we pushed quite hard, for the first sort of 6-ish weeks, I would say. And then we've, I suppose, done a bit of what has it been, nearly 4 weeks worth of just sort of pulling me back to maintenance, giving my body an opportunity to catch back up to what's going on, fill out and drive performance. And I believe probably in the next 7 to 10 days, we'll really start the dig and start to push ourselves into what I would expect.
Field.
Yeah. Into the
it's interesting, I suppose, little concept there that we can quickly touch on as well. Let's make sure my microphone's working, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, gotcha.
Pretty good, yeah.
Just my own thing's going a bit funny there. Anyway, so yeah, obviously with the with you in prep now as well, Alex, I'm just going to adjust my microphone here. Give me a second, guys. Sorry. As long as you hear me, then I'll just ignore it for now.
Okay.
But obviously, with you being in prep, it's a really sort of, well, it's good for people to know what does that look like for you in terms of you're a pro bodybuilder prepping for a classic show. So we have a weight cap in mind. Obviously, we've got it's multiple shows on the road as well. So you've started dieting, you've pulled down weight too quickly, or maybe on track, and you pulled back out into now a recomp phase, which meant. What does that mean for the obviously people that
I guess
and then just quickly, what did your weight change, and then what's the plan from here to push back down, if that makes sense?
Okay, so generally speaking, I suppose the way that you would approach it would all very much depend on how long of an off season that you've had, and what the phases leading up to the contest prep were looking like. Obviously, given that I took an extended period to focus on growing, we did push my weight up quite substantially, well and truly, well up over my actual limit. So given that we obviously want to retain as much of that tissue that was gained during that period, but still allow me to make weight, we more or less have to, I guess, separate the dieting phase into phases. So we don't want to just rip all the weight off straight away all in one go and send me completely flat and risk at that same time losing a bunch of tissue. So in order to, endeavor to retain as much tissue as possible, obviously we do a big initial dump, get all the shit weight off, the stuff that's sort of easiest to come off. And then we'll sort of hit more or less a maintenance phase. Calories will be potentially a slight surplus or, close to maintenance. And then we'll just very much focus on driving performance again and trying to get performance back to, what it was prior to pulling all of those calories and almost back to what it was probably at the peak of my off-season weight. And then, throughout the prep, depending on how quick the drops happen, how much the body shifts and how quickly the weight comes down, we may intermittently spend, periods of time back in that maintenance phase. Often a lot of coaches will do that type of thing, I guess, to break up the prep and make it a little bit more manageable from a mental perspective. I guess, and you know what it's like being a pro yourself, man, and the amount of times that we've now done this. Generally, the suffering side of things is just something that we expect and accept. So it's not so much for us, I think, the mental thing. It's more so trying to ensure that we maintain a certain cosmetic look, and don't essentially send me too flat into the point of no return. Given that is often, especially with my structure being like a sort of a taller guy, it's very, very easy to send me flat. And if we send me too flat, it can take a considerable amount of time to pull me back out of that hole.
Okay. Yeah, look, obviously really, really interesting.
About the prep is like you don't know what you're going to be when you're pushing past your previous limits.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And obviously, you acquired some new tissue. So was it a high weight that you hit during the prep, or during your off-season prep?
Was it a new high weight? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely.
It was huge.
So obviously, I mean, the whole thing is that when we do hit new weights with our physique, and obviously, look, it's scarier with classic because me as an open bodybuilder, like, there's no real limit on what I can weigh on stage. I'm never going to make 2-on-2 weight, so it's like I just got to push and try to be as big and full as possible.
Yeah.
We don't chase weight. I'm never a proponent, or I'll never be one to chase weight. I did earlier when I wanted to be just super heavy, but we never chase weight essentially. But we obviously trying to push up weight because when you have a certain level of muscle tissue, obviously we're not seeing daily changes or weekly changes in the mirror. We use the weight and general look as a guide to say, okay, look, if we're accruing scale weight, but the look's still somewhere we want it to be, like not too fluffy in some areas. And we might track a skin fold of one area, and performance is essentially sort of incrementally or going up sort of
simultaneously.
With that simultaneously, it's an indication that we are acquiring new tissue. So from that point of view, it's like, okay, great. So keep pushing on. Obviously, if weight stalls or if performance stalls, or if the look worsens, then these are all tools that we use to essentially try and dictate where we go to. But for a classic, it's like, well, when you push up to new weight, it's like, well, hang on a second. If we were already at our capacity before, potentially we could diet off more weight and have obviously more muscle mass on stage, less body fat on stage. But it's still a scary, I suppose, proposition because it's like, well, will I be able to get the weight off? And how much of the, obviously, tissue, the good tissue, will come off with the fat, if that makes sense.
Correct.
And I think that obviously an appropriate, a thing that I use with a lot of my, actually I use it with a lot of my first timers who I'm coaching, is because essentially when we're dieting down for competition for the first time, if it's their first time on stage, they've never been stage lean before. Now we all know what getting fucking peeled feels like. Obviously Tracy, no disrespect to the bikinis and the wellness, but they don't get peeled and hard on stage like what we do. Yeah. So obviously we know what it feels like to be stage.
You can feel your skin tingling.
Yeah, personally, I fucking love it. Like,
yeah,
personally, I love it. But again, if you haven't been there before, then it's hard to know, well, hey, how lean am I? Yeah. And often people don't have as much muscle as they think for the first time, and they underestimate how much body fat they actually have to lose. There's body fat between our joints. There's body fat, obviously visceral around our organs. All this shit has to come off. And so,
The
so
other,
what I
the other
would,
one for classic that's often not considered, and it's funny, right? Because I remember when I first discussed this with Dean, he's like, that's not a thing. And that's the height. So
It's
believe
such
it
a
or believe it or not, in my off season, I'm
taller.
actually, can be up to like 3 centimeters taller.
The fat
yes.
pads on your feet,
Yeah.
bro.
Fat pads. I must have fat heads, I'd say. I mean,
No, I usually lose like 2 centimeters because you're dehydrated. The discs in your spine
yeah,
are
that too.
flatter, so you
That too.
shrink.
Yeah. So
I've
you got
seen,
to
I've
remember,
seen,
like, if you're losing just a couple of mils
Yeah,
between every single joint, the top of your head, the base of your feet,
yeah,
like, man, before you know it, you've lost like literally 2 centimeters.
I
And
yeah.
saw Joe Ballinger recently, who's an amateur bodybuilder from the United Kingdom. You probably follow Joe online. He's been around for a while. Makes a lot of content, but he's been chasing the pro card, and obviously he's trying to go into the classic division. But he uses the decompression, the vertical bed where he lies backwards, essentially. I forget what it's
I've
called.
got one.
Hang them upside down.
Where you can, I don't
You've
know
got
if
one there.
you see it in my,
Have you really?
Yeah, so
see it
I think
there?
I can see the background there. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's it right
So
there.
You
so what
so you string
but
yourself up.
Actually,
what
yeah.
what he's noticed is in the mornings he's actually a certain height, and then by the evening he's actually 2 to 3 centimeters shorter.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it just shows even over the course of a day we can shrink essentially as
And
well.
especially if you're doing something that's like loading your spine
Fine.
almost,
Yeah,
like something that's going to compress you. It
Yeah.
absolutely does compress you.
for
I
sure.
actually, as I get closer to the shows, not only do I use my inversion table, but I actually go and see, and I'll give him a plug. Actually, he's a really nice guy. Is Mark Miller? He's actually at Coomera Medicross here on the Gold Coast in Queensland, and he has actually got a machine that is a decompression bench,
Mhm.
and it essentially
Stretches you out.
yeah, so it's sort of like there's a belt that goes around your waist, around your neck. Let's go over my. I think it's around. I think it's just my waist and my neck actually, and my shoulders, and it just essentially stretches you.
Yeah,
You know?
and look,
And it
obviously
does
it's
work. It fucking works, man.
yeah, I believe. Obviously, I've been through that similar
With your neck.
with my neck and trying to decompress a C3 to C4 and having that essentially decompression. So decompression is great for a number of reasons, height advantage being one of them, which classic guys can use to try and make another or the extra weight cap up, if that makes sense.
So
But
another thing I've considered was just getting a singular breast implant on the top of my head. I don't know how aesthetic it would look, but I have definitely toyed with that idea, if I'm honest.
you wouldn't just be a dickhead, you'd also be a tit head as well. Is that right?
Same.
So
With the
take it
nipple
off.
on the top too.
I've been fucking called worse.
But look, obviously it's an interesting concept. But obviously, in terms of the dieting down phase with newer clients, what I'll do is I'll generally push them really hard in the first. We'll set like a 6 week limit. So listen, next 6 weeks, no fucking free meals. Shut the fuck up. Just diet. Yeah, let's get as much off early as possible and see where you end up. I mean, if we need to pull you back out for a recomp phase or a maintenance phase or give you some more food, you're never going to say no to that. But if we get the 6 weeks out and I drop you to 1,000 calories, you're going to fucking hate life. So it's like we either do the work early, and then as fatigue accumulates during prep, we can hopefully eat more food or refeed more frequently, or we do it the other way. And as fatigue accrues, you feel worse, and then you eat less food and you feel even fucking worse. So
I think that was one of the big reasons that we hit prep from the perspective that we did this time was one, obviously I had been in an extended growth phase, to the point where we just spoke off camera. I was literally by December when we had the most ridiculous heat here in Queensland. My performance started to go backwards just because I was just fucking so hot. Every time I would eat, man, I would just be sweating. I'd walk into the gym, aircon's blaring, and I'd do one set and I'd be pouring out with sweat. I was just so big for my size. like to give you guys some context, I'm on stage. I have to weigh 106. In my off season this year, I think I touched, as I said to Mike off screen, I think I was sort of sitting between 130 and I think I touched 133 at one point.
Yeah.
And it was just, man, like,
Yeah, I remember.
while everyone looks at you and is like, man, you look massive, you look sick. And it's like, dude, spend a day in my body and you would fucking hate it.
Yeah.
You know,
What's your height, Alex?
184 and a half centimeters.
84 and a half.
Obviously similar for me again, which we touched on as well, is the fact that during my push phase recently I hit 140.8 fasted in the morning.
And how tall are you about? What are you, like
100,
4 foot?
175, 174, 175.
4.5.
But it's just fucking
63.
like 63. Well, I was actually going to get to you in a second because we were talking about the fact that like at that weight, I felt weaker. I felt like obviously I couldn't do more than 10 lunges without having to stop and fucking almost jump on the asthma ventilator. And it felt really bad. There was some sets where I'd stop the set and my cardiovascular was so bad. And obviously people have heard me breathing on my YouTubes during that time, whatever else. But it's like, honestly, it's like I get the set of, if I push myself to, let's say, 20 lunges, and then I finish the set, and I'm honestly asking myself, should I call an ambulance right now? Because I don't know if this heart rate and this breath is going to come back. Like it's, I'm fucking searching for air. It's so uncomfortable. But
and just
they're the biggest part of your body, though, so they suck all that energy. So they're always harder than anything else that you do. One thing I do relate with is the big legs. So I used to hate lunges. I was like, I don't want to lunge. I can do 450 on a leg press. I do 10 lunges and I'm stuffed.
The one thing I wanted to touch on as well, though, Mike, is obviously I know that you check your health metrics quite often. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's highly likely that your, as far as metrics were concerned, like your blood pressure and stuff like that, was probably like pretty acceptable for someone your size. Yeah,
my bloods were probably, my blood pressure fasted was always, I think, only higher than 135.
Yeah.
And obviously, I am very, very mindful. I do obviously supplement some telmisartan, some quercetin as well, but never more than 135, over 80-ish, 81, 82. So
and
hardly even touch a hypertension, diagnosis, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's what I was just about to say. So context for people listening at home, like ideally we want our blood pressure to be like 120/80. So while 135 is elevated for somebody of your size, not that we would ever say that it's acceptable, but it may be short-term acceptable. For somebody of that size, knowing that we're not going to spend a considerable amount of time at this size is somewhat acceptable short-term.
Yeah, and my heart rate, look, you average around 69 or 70. And with the amount of accumulation of fatigue in PEDs, obviously, food, and then scale weight, and all that on top of it. And actually, the first time I've ever, during a push phase, not done any active cardio or really chased a step number. Obviously, we know that research has shown between 7,000 to 9,000 steps per day is promotes a lot of healthy consequences for a regular adult. So normally, Dean will advise around 7 to 9, but I didn't really chase the steps like I normally have. And obviously, if you're doing some cardio, if you're chasing some steps, and if you're chasing steps, it generally means you need to do some sort of walk or cardio or be mindful of it.
Yeah.
But I found that I didn't want to eat any more food, so I'm like, I've got to expend less energy. And so how can I do that? I can just hopefully if I can get around as little as possible,
just stop moving.
Be as fat as possible. But essentially, look, I touched on new weight, and so hopefully that translates to the stage. But what I was interested in, obviously, we just talked about, both Alex and I, how at those weights, in the middle of our supposedly strongest version of ourselves, because we're food's high, PEDs are high, whatever else, but we actually felt our weakest almost. And we, towards the end, I stopped seeing progressions in the gym. I didn't see the numbers go up, and I was getting frustrated, what the fuck's going on here? But Tracy, with your, obviously, how long have you been training now?
I've been training since I was 16, so 24 years.
24. So 24 years of training.
24 years.
Obviously been
Firstly, hang
competing.
on. I've got to butt in. Tracy's an asshole because she never gets fat, man.
But
I used to get so fat
let,
though. I used to put on like 15, 20 kilos between comps. I used
let's
to.
hear from let's hear
First
from
6
Tracy
years
because
of my comps.
some
I was like
people
a
some
little
people
chubber.
some people hold it better than others. But in that time frame, Tracy, obviously, 24 years of training, and a number of those years competing as well. And I'm interested to know, obviously, touch on if there was any athletics to the training, or if it was just purely, a bodybuilding or a physique style training that you always did. But during those years, have you had periods of time where you've pushed your weight up either too far or felt that same sort of
Yes.
impact in terms of your strength and performance?
So when I first started training, it was because I moved from South Africa to England. And in England, they had no sports team. So I used to play like basketball, touch footy. I even used to run. Don't do that anymore. So I did all of that. And then I went to England. My mum moved us there. And I went to school and they said there's no sporting teams for girls, but you can play mixed netball at lunchtime. Anyway, so I decided not to. I decided to go down to the gym down the road from where I lived. It was called Beauty and the Beast, old school bodybuilder gym, like proper, like all the bodybuilders went there. And like the first few months, I just did cardio, of course. I didn't have great self esteem or anything like that. My home life wasn't amazing at all. And then I started making friends with everyone. They became my family and they took me under their wing. And all these big bodybuilders, which I know, the most beautiful people in the world, they started training with me. And I realized how strong I was. I was like, finally, there's something that I'm really good at. I'm so strong. And that strength for me, it actually saved my life. I had a lot of things. I had bulimia, low self-esteem. I used to cut myself, a whole bunch of things. I didn't think I was worth loving. But the gym saved me. It gave me like a place to be a safe place where I could go in there and it didn't matter what happened outside in the world. I could go to that place and it was guaranteed that there would be someone there smiling to see me. Guaranteed I could pick up a weight and put it down and be stronger, do a little bit of cardio and definitely be fitter. And all of that external kind of strength finally started seeping inside as well to make me more and more confident to do anything that I set my mind to. And then the training continued. Like the healing process from self-esteem and eating disorders is a long, long time. It doesn't just go away overnight and think, but the one thing that clicked finally was I was training and I was so strong and I was really uncomfortable because I like to say that it was puppy fat, but I was a little chubba chubba. And I was uncomfortable when I was training because I knew I was a little bit too big, even though I was strong. And then because I had the bulimia active at that time, there was like a 2 month crossover there. And I remember walking home one day from the gym and I'd just seen this big bodybuilding female. She was so impressive at the gym. And I walked home and I'm like, how am I going to grow muscle if I keep vomiting up all my food? And that kind of just clicked something in me to start my process to carry on and carry on. There was a whole bunch of like the need to be perfect was always instilled in me as well, to always do everything to perfection. And you're not good enough unless you're perfect. But the training, like I always trained really, really hard. I trained with the bodybuilders. I got a proper diet. So as soon as I could control my food plan, I thought I started healing again from the eating disorder because I still had control over what I was doing. I had a goal. I had a purpose. Leading up into the first few comps, of course, I got so lean and I felt so good and I stood on stage and I was just like, and I did win my first competition. And I was just like, it was the best, most amazing feeling in the world. And then all of a sudden, it went back to normal. And then the weight started going back on again. And I would binge eat and do all the rest of it until I hit 70 kilos. So I used to compete at like 52 kilos, right?
And what division was that when you
Figure.
first competed?
Yeah, that
Figure,
was
WFF figure. Yeah.
Yeah.
What federation was that back then?
So NABA, WFF. So WFF was the smaller version
Yes.
of NABA. They were together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I did really well. Went over to Austria and did worlds there. And that was amazing. That was my first competition overseas too, which I went on my own, which was pretty amazing. But in between the comps, the weight would slip up to the point of being really uncomfortable. But I know I needed that weight to be able to put on muscle because for females, it's a lot harder to put on muscle. We don't have the hormones associated with it. And in terms of PEDs, I barely used any at all. It was just like tablets. That's it. Nothing major for the first probably. So it was 2010 I started competing. up until 2015. So it was, I had to put on that weight, I know, to build that muscle underneath. But I understand how uncomfortable it is to be training. Like your joints are sore, your legs chafe. You don't feel like you're quite getting a pump. Like you never feel like you get a pump when you're that big either. It's just, you're just kind of moving stuff. And
When
even
you
if
get to that point, yeah.
yeah, like you just like you're moving it, and it was like, oh wow, it's like, hey, I'm not a power lifter, I'm a bodybuilder. I want to look the part too. Slowly, I started getting everything a bit under control, and coming to limitations. What you said before, Mike, is like your body can only handle so much. That's really true. It really can only handle so much, and it gets to the point where you want to, you know where you're at, and you know you can fine tune, harden, increase density. But like some things, my weights aren't going to go up anymore. They are just what they are, but I can do time under tension, increase the, because you know muscles, they can't see the weight that you're stacking on; they just feel. So I make sure the muscles feel everything rather than maxing myself out and possibly causing an injury, or pushing myself past where my body is actually capable of going.
Isn't it funny as we get more mature with
Yes.
our training that we quickly, like, I mean, we're taught this shit from the get go, but we
Yeah.
quickly go back to the thought of, like, there's more than one way to progress my training. Like, I don't always
Yes.
have to expose myself to the most risky method of
Correct.
progress, just
Yeah.
loading more fucking
Yeah.
weight on the bar.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes down to the environment and the influences that we have around us as well. So I'm really interested to touch back on Tracy's journey. Did you have a coach from day one, or was it just
No,
sort of like
I didn't.
a
So
journey, just
I was
yourself?
training for a long time, and then I moved from England to Australia for a guy. Turned out he was a heroin addict, so that was a lot of fun. Anyway, so that was a 3-year sentence for me until I got my visa.
Yeah, okay.
And my training kind of stopped in between that time, obviously, with all that stuff that happened. I was the most miserable I'd ever been. I didn't have any friends because how could I have friends? I just worked so he could spend the money, I guess, or that type of thing. When I got out of that, I made a promise to myself that I would never, ever let anyone steal my sparkle ever again. Ever again,
Mhm.
no matter what. No one, I can't let anybody take that away from me. And I got back into the gym, started training, and then I went to a festival, of course, and I met a group of people that all competed. And I used to go to lots of things on my own. I don't mind being alone at all. I'd go wherever, coffee, dinner, whatever it was. And I went to this festival on my own and bumped into this group of people, and they kind of said, oh, you should do a comp and blah, blah, blah. So I did like a 36-week prep for my first comp. And it was nerve wracking. It was because didn't have any concept of how I would look at all. Like all I would think about in my head was all the women, my role models and everything that I would see and competing and everything. And all I would do is just hold that in my mind and just work so hard, just work, work, work. I didn't know how I was supposed to look. The
Who were those role models? Quickly.
those role models. Oh, Anne Marie, Anne Marie Lazare, the Amazonian.
Hmm.
There was a lot of other girls at NABRA as well too, but she was just so tall and striking. And then there was Xena, warrior princess.
Okay, of course.
We're not talking about my dog here, are we?
No, we're talking about the the show.
Oh,
Until one day I watched the show
oh,
and I realized, hey, I'm bigger than her.
my dog's name's Zena.
So yeah, going back to your coaches after that. So obviously met the group of friends and
So
got
this
into
group of
the
friends, yeah, so
competing.
they helped me. It was a huge learning experience because there was so many different things that I was being told, right? So many different type of things. I researched everything that anybody told me. I looked it all up and researched it, and I didn't do what everybody said I should do here, there, and everywhere. I made it more of I made sure I researched it so I can educate a guest to what would be best for me. But it was like super hard. Like the calories were so low, all the cardio and all the rest of it. But and the confusion of having one person saying one thing and another person saying another thing as well was very, very nerve wracking. But when I got to that stage, I didn't actually see anybody else around me. And I got to that stage and I stood on that stage and I was just like, I was so proud of myself that I did everything 100%. I ticked every single box, and I deserved to be there and stand on the stage. If I won or not, it didn't matter. I was proud of myself, like that I managed to push through all of that and win. I did win, which probably sealed the deal on the rest of my career.
Well, it kind of helps, doesn't it?
It did. That did teach me, though, after that you need one person to listen to. Just one person to listen to.
Definitely. I think that obviously, again, but having that, having the right group of people around you is important, because obviously that encourages us to pursue our goals. And then, there's always times for everyone where it gets tough and you question, like, am I doing the right thing?
Correct.
Or like, all that sort of stuff as well.
So my first official coach was actually John Davey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously, so you couldn't get much better experience and wisdom than John back in the day, and even
I know,
now,
right? Yeah, I know.
So it's a great, obviously, introduction to the coaching or athlete coaching.
No, it really was. Yeah, it really was. And then go to World Gym Ashmore, being surrounded by people of like-minded. And, it was just, it was like a little family. It was really great. Like there's Lindy Olsen and like the old crew back then. It was like that was like a home for me, another home for me. Definitely. And you wanted to do well for yourself, but for everybody else too. And backstage, we're like a little family as well, or supporting each other. But the value of actually having one coach, one person that understands you, and also is invested in your health as well, and to make sure you don't get too confused with all the different things bouncing in and out of your head, because there's a different way to coach for every single person and every single body. No one way is correct way. You just have to be consistent with it.
Consistency is key with all things, and bodybuilding there's nothing that resonates more with bodybuilding than consistency in an approach. And you're right, there's not one approach that's the absolute right way for everyone. And obviously someone with experience like John and working with hundreds of, maybe 1,000 different bodies, has the experience and the wisdom to sort of to understand and guide someone in the right approach for them. Just touching back on there for a lot of people listening who might be in a position where, like me and like you said, your gym saved us. And like we hear that term so often.
We really do.
I do gym for me, gym saved me, and whatever else. And look, nothing against these people, but sometimes I see people that come from like, a structured home with happy mom, happy dad, happy brothers and sisters, went to a good school, whatever else. And sometimes I think, fuck, man, like, what did you need saving from? And obviously we don't know what's going on inside people's heads and whatever else, for sure.
Oh, I was the happiest kid. If you ever saw me, I always had a smile on my face. Always, because it was always easier. Because if you looked sad, people would ask you what's wrong. So instead, I was the happiest person that you'd ever met.
I'm interested to know what did you find was obviously having bulimia, and you mentioned perfection before as well. That obviously came from your parents. That the idea of perfection, and what was the idea of perfection that maybe didn't align with what you thought perfection was?
Well, my mother didn't love me. She didn't want me. And then when my parents separated, I was like daddy's girl, and he chose to stay in South Africa, and I wanted to stay with him. And he said no. He said, you have to go. So then I felt like my dad didn't want me either. So I felt there must be something wrong with me. Then my parents don't even want me. They don't love me. They don't anything. And then, of course, when we moved to England, I actually lived in the attic. That's not a joke. My room was in the attic. And my mum and my sister would be downstairs saying all sorts of horrible things about me and all the rest of it. I was like 15 actually when we moved there. It was a month before my 16th birthday, so I never even had a 16th birthday. I didn't have really any friends or anything, and that's when I got to the gym and I finally found some sort of family and some sort of friend. But the training, because the training gave me so much power, like I was strong, like I said before, and it made me feel so much more confident inside. I got the two linked, you know what I mean? Like I felt like I got so lean and I did so well on stage, and that's why people liked me. After a few years, I realized that people loved me no matter if I was 10 kilos heavier or lean as, people love you for you, not about your appearance. And people probably thought I was way more fun when I was fat.
I think even so, what you touched on is really important for people, I suppose, to understand that even though we may be a bodybuilder, we may be a sprinter, we may be a business person, whatever the fuck we are, ultimately humans have certain needs. There's basic needs that we all need, that we all have.
We just want
whether
to
we want to choose to admit them or not. But we need some sort of certainty in our life. We need some uncertainty at times, some excitement. But we have obviously we all have the need of significance and being loved, no matter what degree. And I'm a huge believer in the fact that we have to build a confidence and love for ourselves before we can
have to love yourself first.
Before we can love anyone else, and before we can accept love at the same time.
That's exactly
properly.
Right.
Because otherwise we're searching. And it sounds like, obviously, when you went to the gym, coming from what it sounds like was a place where you didn't feel a lot of encouragement or a lot of worth in you and what you did, all of a sudden you're squatting 3-4 plates and everyone's clapping, everyone's like, jumping up and down. And it sounds like that really gave you that sense of, well, fuck, like, this is...
I belong somewhere, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm good at something.
Yeah.
I'm significant. All these things, which, like I said, are really, really important for us to then start to believe, like I said, we are worth something. And then obviously more to that, it's, we've got something to give the world, or something to show the world.
Yeah, that's right. And the most important thing from that is what you give from the world is what you learn from your past and what's happened. Like, you can take what happened to me and become a really horrible person, or you can take, and I take it, and it took a long time, but now I thank everybody in my life that's whatever experience has been, whether it's been horrible, good, bad, whatever it is. I thank them for the lesson to make
sometimes on the way to becoming ourselves, we become horrible. We don't realize at the time.
Yes, but they do. Yeah, my sister is the total opposite of me, so similar thing, and she's not nice at all. We don't talk.
But I think that when we become that horrible person, sometimes it's just because we haven't found the right avenue or channel to direct it in.
Yeah.
And for me, it became training and bodybuilding. And when my wife and I met, I come from a home where we didn't hug.
Yeah.
There wasn't a hug. There was never there was hardly "I love you" said in my household. It was that wasn't a part of our upbringing at all. And my mum and dad split up, and then it became the kids' fault because they just fought and used us against each other. And
exactly right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then again, it's now it's well, then I met my wife, who's Turkish, 28 first cousins, and when they meet you, they kiss, I think 4 times, every single one, and hug everyone. And when I met my wife, she was 19, 20 years old, 21 years old, still sitting on her dad's lap as we sat around the TV talking, or the lounge room talking. So it was obviously very different for me to come into that environment as well.
Yeah.
But it made me question a lot at that time. I think for me personally, is this the right place for me? Because it wasn't what I was used to. And obviously, even though some experiences in our lives don't seem to be the best at times, there's still comfort in the certainty of knowing, well, that's what it feels like. And so because I realize that, or I'm familiar with that, I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So then we break that pattern, and then obviously, like you said, we sort of start to realize, well, hang on a second. Some people are shown the way to be, if that makes sense, and get positive messages. And some people are showing, well, hey, this is how I don't want to be.
Yes.
And I'm going to break the cycle and change and find the right avenue for us in terms of driving our, not just self-worth, but our energy.
So for me, it's inside, it's I never want anybody to feel the way that I felt those times. And I never want to be someone that puts that on someone else. And everybody does have their issues and everything. And you have to accept that. You have to accept the whole person. It's not personal to you. If I hug everyone, I'm a friendly person and everything. And I do, I have clients and I can tell straight away that they don't hug. And that's fine. I might get a hug out of them once a month. But, it doesn't mean that they don't like me.
I just want to interject there for a second.
Yeah.
And, obviously, early in the week, we had no idea that we were bringing Tracy on this show. And I sent her and Milad.
Oh my God, the most beautiful message. I saved it 4 times and I watched it 400 times.
And I just... while Tracy's saying all of this stuff and she's essentially trying to portray who she is and what she is as a person, what she's been through and what's sort of shaped her to be the person that she is, it doesn't... she's a fucking phenomenal athlete. And it's funny how we've not even really spoken too much about the present. the present athlete that she is, because I almost think that it speaks for itself.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to see her do well, not just because of the fucking phenomenal athlete that she is, but for the person that she is, man. Like, what did I call you the other day?
Hang on, you want me to check my message?
Yeah, check your Instagram. She is my human antidepressant.
Yeah, that's it.
There is,
yes,
for somebody that has been through so much shit, and it's crazy if you hear Malad's story. His life is like next level.
Yeah.
For two people that have lived like a pretty tough upbringing, to say the least, they are the most happy, contagious people.
But it's so funny how so often we hear stories in life of people who come from those challenging backgrounds and situations where you think that, fuck, man, could it get any worse sometimes? But only, look, only when you've hit rock bottom, and everyone's version of rock bottom is different. Yes, there are levels, but only when you hit like a certain point in your life and you think, fuck, having felt that low, having felt that, whether it's your fault, you're not your fault, whatever, I'm a big believer in the fact that ultimately everything's my fault, so I'm in control. Because if it's my fault, I can change it.
Yeah.
But regardless of the context, when you've hit that rock bottom, it's like and then you realize, well, hey, hang on a second, this is where you can go from here. And then when you turn your life around and you're able to then help others, like Tracy said, I think that when I was in the gym, I was 141 kilos fat, fat, no gym at all.
Yeah.
And I just decided I wanted to look good naked because, like, honestly, I was, that was as simple as it was. Honestly, I was like, I want to look good naked. I want to, press my partner. I want to fucking be able to go. I used to wear my boxer shorts and pull them up, my boxers over my stomach to try and make it look flatter, if it makes sense. Like ridiculous, totally fucking absurd.
I never wore hot pants until I was 27 years old because I used to get called thunder thighs all the time, and I had massive issues about how big my legs were.
Fuck them now. But when
it happened, puts her under shame with them.
I know, it's so good.
but when I had this, when I was in the gym trying to, I used to go to the gym as a young guy at 140 kilos. Like, I don't want to see anyone there. So I'd go at 11 p.m. or midnight when no one was there and just do hours of cardio. But I remember being in the gym, like you said before, Tracy, and it was late at night and I saw this. Well, I thought he was big back then. He probably wasn't that big now, considering but I thought he had a great body, obviously. And I was like, fuck, man, like, I'd love to look like that one day. You're thinking in my head, I would never talk to him. I was no confidence at all and all this stuff. But I remember I was on the Stairmaster, and I was sweating because I was fucking fat. But when I was sweating on the Stairmaster, I put down I finished. I got off. I wiped the machine down, so I wiped the handles, wiped the console, wiped everything that I thought, and walked away. 2 minutes later, this guy's like fucking tapped me on the back, and like fucking hitting me and going like, fuck. Hey, come with me. And he grabbed me over, and it was that guy that I was looking at only a fucking few seconds ago thinking how great he looks, dragged me over to this machine by my ear, and on the footwell, one of the steps, was a couple of drops of sweat, like fucking like maybe 2 drops. And he's like, fucking clean the machines, and fucking started like yelling at me, obviously embarrassed me in front of everyone who was at the gym. I felt fucking worthless, and I didn't want to go back to the gym ever again. So, but again, it's like, now I make sure if someone comes up to me in the gym and asks for advice or like, just has a chat, I try and stop and give them time because, again, I saw what I didn't want, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I never wanted to be someone to feel how I felt at that time.
Yeah. And I still remember the first time I stepped in the gym, how intimidated I was. I still remember that. So when I have new clients or I see somebody at the gym and it's their first time there, I see that in them immediately. And I just want to make them feel comfortable and happy to be there so they can, continue their journey. Because I remember that like it was yesterday. It's intimidating. We can be intimidating, but we're also the loveliest people. We're always there to offer help, advice. We've been through everything. So people say that to me. They say, I was a bit scared to talk to you at first, and then we heard you laughing in the car park. So And that's a nice feeling.
Absolutely.
That's a nice feeling to be able to give somebody some confidence.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And look, you have no idea how much you would actually inspire and motivate so many, not just women, but people out there. Because no matter what, when we come to the ins and outs of it all, when someone sees someone who's achieved a body of some
Yeah.
kind, you straight away think, "Oh fuck, man, that person's worked hard." Well,
Yeah.
like it demands a level of respect. And then when you back that up with, "Hey, I'm a good fucking person too," or I'm actually nice and I'm not, the resting fuck off face isn't actually a thing.
No.
It's backed up with someone who cares.
Yeah.
It's really, really, it's so refreshing to see. I think, especially in our industry, which can be full of egos and narcissism and all those things, which we see so often, throughout the industry as well. So, look, obviously, I think thank you for sharing, first of all, because it's hard sometimes to reach into the bag of the past and to pull out some of the skeletons. But like I said, I'm sure there's someone listening who would have heard your story and can resonate with them and maybe get the courage to go to the gym like you did and pick up some fucking weights and build some thunder thighs.
Reach out to the guy or girl that looks intimidating inside the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. Come say hi to all of us.
Yes, exactly.
And make sure you remind Alex he needs to work on those hamstrings.
I know I saw that post of yours today with those biceps. I thought they might have come up a bit more this off season.
Oh, maybe I should steal. You got some Mediform you can send me down, Alex? Some HA?
About that.
Anyone got a dig for me?
No. Look, talking about you, Tracy, obviously.
We can't fault your fucking physique.
Oh, shut up.
You've been on the IFBB circuit for a while now. Maybe give us and all the listeners at home a quick little rundown as to your history with the IFBB, because obviously, like me, you've had some great wins and some hard lessons, not losses, lessons. I call them as well.
Yeah.
I think even you and I had the same comp one year. Had a
yes, that's right. 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And look. Obviously, we can touch on that if you want to. I'm okay talking about anything. We know that bodybuilding and judging. We don't always see the way the judges do, and that's part of the sport. We've got to accept that at the end of the day. But look, give us a rundown as to your history with the IFBB, maybe some highs and lows from the past, and what you're trying to do this year.
So I like I said, I started with WFF, so NABA WFF. I did a few shows there. I won the Queensland, the Nationals, the Southern Hemisphere, and then I got third at Worlds, which was pretty awesome. After that, I decided that I wanted to move to IFBB because of Olympia. And I started my IFBB journey. I did 11 shows in 2 years. Now, I did these 11 shows in 2 years. I just couldn't stop. I had quite a few first placings, never the pro card placing, always second. And by that 11th competition, because this was in 2 years, my body was ruined. Like, I finished that and I saw myself on that stage. I saw the photos and I'm like, that is not me. I always aim to stand on stage better than I did before. And when I was at the show and then I saw the photos, I was like, that's not good at all. Anyway, so I stepped back, I got all my testing done and everything. And essentially my body was thinking that it was an 80-year-old female. It didn't matter if I dieted or anything like that. Everything just stuck to me. And I had to it was about 4 months, I think it was, of resetting my hormones, rebalancing things out and learning a lot of things about how your body needs rest and recovery. And female hormones are, they're crazy. They're all over the place. And you can't actually gauge some of these things. But it didn't matter if I did cardio or anything, nothing would shift. I was just stuck at that weight. Even if I ate 500 calories a day, it wouldn't move. Essentially, my body had just slowed down to nothing. I had no growth hormone happening because I didn't sleep properly, because I was always stressed. I was single as well, so I'd be just working, prepping. That's all I did. It was also a form of me hiding a little bit too from myself and the world. So after that, I took a little bit of a step back and I thought, let me take a breather. I've been banging my head against the IFBB wall here. And so I went to WBFF. So I won the Gold Coast show. And then I went to London and I won a pro card with the WBFF in the London World Championships, which was very cool. That was awesome. Considering I lived in London too, so I saw lots of friends. That was amazing. It was really good to have that win. That was really good. The following year, I went to the pro show in Vegas, and there was some people noticed, and a lot of people were messaging me backstage. You've got it. You look amazing. Da, 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 da. I didn't get it. They didn't place me at all. When I looked at the photos, I know why. I was too big. So like WBFF, former WBFF, I know, they're very clear about when you get a pro card. They're a marketing company. They expect certain things, blah, blah, blah. So there was no madness in anything. I was just like, I looked at the photos and I went, I know I'm too big. I'm not marketable. I didn't just wake up like this. That's fine. So I was just like still honored that I could get the pro card in the first place, but I handed it back because I didn't fit anymore. And I was like, okay, let me get this IFBB body up and running and get it going. I learned a lot, especially after healing after all that hormone rebalancing and body rebalancing. And it took a long time and a lot of discipline, which is what we do anyway. But it was a whole other thing. Gut health as well, everything. So I covered a lot of bases and learned a lot of things from that. And then I went back to IFBB. And I did consistently get better. And of course, still didn't get it. And then, of course, like you were saying, Mike, like that 2 years ago, that was a big sting for me, like a really big sting. And it was actually quite hard for me to get on stage last week. Like it was really hard. But when you are someone like, if someone tells you you're not good enough or whatever it is, that's fine. Just work harder. Just keep working harder until they can't ignore you anymore. Like you just consistently get better. So in that way, I'm actually very grateful because I worked so hard and I was able to present that package on Sunday that I am so proud of. And I'm so proud of that package that I presented, that it was just like standing on stage. And when Tony was like, congratulations to me, that was like a big thing for me, like a big thing. Genuinely meant it. And I could see it in his eyes, and that was really like a big thing. It was just like, yes, I finally did it. Like I worked and I worked and I worked, and I finally got that. I got a placing that I deserved. So, I mean, life can go all different ways. You can give up, or you can just keep going. And even before I went to the show, though, like even though it was hard, by the time I got to the show day, I was having the best time. I was just like, all my favorite people are there. All these people came to visit. I went and saw people. I hung out with Alex and Tash and Cam. Even Milan helped me out backstage, pumped me up and all the rest of it. It was just a great experience, and everyone was waiting for me afterwards. So despite everything, trophy or not, it was just like, I did that for me, and I did that for all of those people that believe in me as well. And I can't give up on myself especially, but I can't give up on essentially my principle. Like, my principles are my principles. Like I will never give up on myself again, like ever. I'll just keep working harder until I get what I need and get to where I need to go.
And I think that back in 2022,
Yeah.
2022. After I think we talked a little bit, sort of back and forth after that, and just because sometimes the losses are hard to swallow, especially when we feel like we've delivered a package that's good enough, and when our name doesn't get called or gets called earlier than we think it should.
I know your heart breaks.
It's hard, and people say, "I'll go overseas," and or just do this federation or whatever else. It's like, well. Yeah, if I always in life, if anything of our past has taught us, if I just quit when the going got a little bit tough or when I didn't go my way, I'd fucking still be on the couch, 140 kilos.
Yeah, that's true.
Doing nothing. So I just thought, well, at the end of the day, we do this for us. I don't do it for. Yes, obviously, I went to the IFBB because I love the Olympia, and that was the only
I haven't had a chance
there.
to say congratulations to you too yet either. So congratulations.
Thank you. Hopefully, I'll be congratulating you very shortly again as well. But again, like I chose the IFBB, so it's like I live in Australia. At the end of the day, I was happy with what I put on stage. And win, lose, draw. Monday comes around after the comp. I'm still going to go to the gym. I'm still going to try and improve.
That's exactly
so the card, the card, as good as it is to have. Like,
stop flashing that at me. You're making me jealous.
I'm just preparing you for what's to come, hopefully. Okay. But the card is
shows that I did. I did them, and I went there to those shows. This was really important. for no politics, no history, no nothing, just a fresh place to go, to stand on stage and remember why I did this, how much I love being on stage, how much I love working for it, without worrying about all the little niggles from the past, if you know what I mean, the stuff that had happened. It was like little fresh starts for me that really gave me, I made so many more friends as well, and even they've all been congratulating me and messaging me and everything. It was just a really good refresh button for me, I think, to remember my sparkle.
100%. Don't take that sparkle away.
No.
But like I said, we do obviously. Look, we need some wins along the way, because there has to. For me, it was always the time away from the wife and kids in the gym or doing what we do and whatever. It has to be worth something. Like, it has to be. Even though they always think I'm still a winner, like, it has to be worth something. It has to mean something at the end of the day. So we do need to get rewarded for what we put in, 100%. But like I said, just because we don't get rewarded when we think we deserve to, then I think that, God has a plan. We put our trust in the power and in the energies of the universe, and if we continue to do the work and put the energy out there, then that karma comes back around. And, it's going to be our time. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but it's going to be our time. So I think a true testament again to just keep working. Because you looked amazing on Sunday.
Thank you very much.
On Sunday. And look, hopefully we can get sort of 5 physique girls up there on the at nationals, and and obviously hopefully it'll be another good competition. And because I do believe that if there's a physique girl that we have, bodybuilding, physique essentially girl that we have who deserves to be on the pro stage, it's yourself, and obviously with that muscle maturity, it's going to carry over.
Thank you.
We've seen recently that the pro Aussie girls overseas doing really well. So it's proof that obviously we do have what it takes over here. We just need to get a few more in the lineups, so our quality can keep advancing.
Do we have an idea of? Do we have an idea of how many girls will be in your lineup at this point, Trace?
Maybe 2 or 3, including me. So we'll see what happens. So Tamron's not competing, of course, because she's bodybuilding, and Bev said to her, go overseas and get your bodybuilding, because there's been a lot of international pages have been reposting our stuff and everything. And obviously Tamron is bodybuilding. She's exceptional. She is so impressive. I was super worried about her. I really was. Which made me work harder too. But she's super happy with that decision too. But she won't be doing the nationals, of course, because she doesn't fit the criteria, and Bev told her that, which is fair enough. But she has a regional now, so she can chase it in one of the European shows, because they still have female bodybuilding. So,
and just for everyone out there who sort of isn't aware of the way the IFBB works, is for any pro qualifier, we do need to have at least 5 contestants for there to be a pro card awarded. So for most divisions, we'll easily
hop on stage with me.
Look, I'm sure that there was some physique girls,
holding, kissing.
There's some figure girls who who came in really good condition. That I saw some figure girls who could hop up there. You know what I mean? You never know. So hopefully we can get it together. But look, while we're here, let's quickly have a look at the weekend. I'm just going to share my screen with you guys. In a second. So give me 1 second. Right, so I'm sharing now. You should be able to see that come up there on your screen.
Yeah.
First of all,
me.
Tracy. So this is from the weekend. This is obviously the winner, Tracy. This is Tamron. And this is 3rd place here as well. So again, Tamron's super, super impressive. Great quads, great size, great
legs.
Great
my God.
I think obviously, in terms of physique, yours is just it screams out sort of, to you guys. I just want to show the guys, this is what you posted before today. The night before, I think this was. Is that right?
Pardon?
The night before was this? Is that?
This was 2 days.
2 days out.
2 nights.
2 days out.
Yeah, fully
so
loaded.
Filling up on carbs, and you guys, look, if you don't follow Tracy, jump on and follow her.
Please follow me.
Loud and out there, and all things.
Bodybuilding aside, you'll get a smile put on your face.
She's an antidepressant.
Yes,
And also, this is my lad. This is your man.
Yes, that's me, lad. Yeah.
So shout out to me, lad. He's just as loud and proud as you, which is great. We love seeing you guys.
Yes, he is in
together,
charge of all the
life.
matching outfits and the fashion and the
Yes.
hair, and he's the one that says, "Babe, what are we wearing?"
It's great to see that you guys obviously live and breathe the fitness lifestyle. I've seen him compete multiple times as well, so it's definitely a passion you guys have.
Yeah.
Your quads are probably a touch bigger than his, which is.
But they've got more size than they used to be. I'm gonna stop working on
that. But shout out to you guys. You guys obviously do a great job.
Did you like my routine?
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you really nailed it. We'll just let the display for a second here so everyone can enjoy. Got the glutes in.
I know my glutes.
and you've done a really good job of keeping it, obviously muscle but feminine as well.
Yeah, I really want to
which is
make
really nice to see.
Yeah.
And you look strong, which I think
Trace,
yeah.
How much? What's the difference in weight this season from previous? Did you actually drop any weight?
So to be honest with you, because so I stayed, like Alex said, I've actually the last 3 years I've stayed leaner than I previously have. The reason for that is I have something called pan-ulcerative colitis, which means my whole colon is ulcerated. So there's only certain foods that I can't eat. And if I get a flare up, it's really bad news. The medication they would want to put me on from the pharmacy, of course, would literally destroy my body, which I don't want to take. So my food has to be perfect all the time, which is why I can kind of keep myself a bit leaner now. So I forgot the question. Sorry, what was the question?
Just with your weight. Was your weight higher or lower than last
when
time?
I competed last, 2 years ago, I was 67 kilos on the IFBB stage. I was 68 and a half on the Singapore stage, and I was 70 kilos on the Romanian stage, and I was leaner and harder. This year, I'm even leaner than that, and I'm just under 70. So the weight has stayed about the same, yeah. But the muscle density has got better, the muscle maturity. I was able to tighten up my waist even more. Get those glutes in as well, because I had no bum at all when I first started competing. I swear to God, it was just a crack in my back. So they're always that last thing in my head that I'm always stressing about a show day. But yeah, so the weight stayed around 70, but the condition is way better, the vascularity, being lean, everything. So I'm pretty happy with all of that too, and I'm comfortable.
That's one thing that you can do when you obviously get to a level of your, I suppose, first of all, career, or a length of time spent doing this. You've acquired an amount of muscle, which you need because it's bodybuilding. It's a muscle contest, but then it comes on condition as well. Sometimes when we do chase, like we said before, chasing, I think size and strength and new muscle, we can blow the waist out, obviously. But obviously, once you acquire it, you can then spend time staying closer to that contest weight and then tighten up that waist in the process. And then often you find that times when you talk to people who have sort of, I suppose, had something like ulcerative colitis, is that what you said that it was? Yeah. So something like this, or some sort of digestive tract inflammation or autoimmune, which limits the scope of food. Yeah. It's autoimmune, is that right? Yeah. So which limits the obviously the scope of food and variety of food that you can eat.
Correct. Yeah.
But then obviously we're bodybuilders, we don't really give a fuck what we eat at the end of the day.
That's true. Yeah.
But being extra selective, we end up being really, really fucking clean. And then the byproduct of that is obviously our digestion becomes amazing, and that
that's right. Yeah, you feel really good.
Reduce inflammation.
You feel good when you put good food in you.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was the medication they wanted you to take that wasn't really
prednisone? So they wanted to take prednisone, which of course it causes muscle degradation, bone density, but also I had to take it at one period. I was in the hospital 3 times in a month, so I couldn't make it to the toilet. Very embarrassing, things like that. I couldn't actually go to work. I just didn't want to eat either because everything that went in came straight back out again. So when they put me in for my colonoscopy, the 3-month, 6-month specialist wait list turned into next day because I was an emergency. They gave me the prednisone on the first day, which it took for a couple of days. I did some research. I wasn't super happy with what it did. And then I had the special.
Definitely not long term anyway. Yeah, definitely not
definitely
long term.
And I have to be on it forever. So the specialist told me if I didn't take it, I'd die. So I was just like, well, I'm not taking it and I'm still alive, so I think I'm winning. But I taken a Ayurvedic medication. So I take a medication from India, which is for your bowels and for a thing. And it's magic. It's so good. As soon as I took it, after 3 days, everything regulated and went back to normal. So it was like magic.
Wow.
Prednisone as well gives me massive acne. So I had a flare up maybe about 8 months ago, and it went on for nearly 3 weeks. So I had to take the prednisone, and my whole back was full of acne. It was the most painful thing ever. But the specialist still won't give me anything. They said there's better medication, but you have to earn it. So you have to do all the shit medication first before you get the good one. Anyway, so
it's fucked, isn't it?
Oh, it's so fucked. Yeah, so I'd rather just not play that game at all. I mean, I keep my food really good. I still eat all my favorite things mostly. And when I do eat bad things, I pay for it the next day, of course, that I do. And, and it becomes less and less more so that I do that because it's not really worth it at all.
I think that you end up picking your battles there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
A special event or whatever else, and then but most of the time it's we're just on track. So which makes sense. And just so you guys don't, for people who don't know, prednisolone, obviously very powerful anti-inflammatory, but
it's an immune
obviously for me
as well. So it's for immune system. Yeah.
Yeah, when I have taken that in the past, I've just experienced the worst fluid retention, bloating.
That too. My fingers were like sausages. Yeah,
it was not worth it. Obviously, again, short term, if we needed to, obviously bring down or to treat something acutely, great. But you want to find obviously a way to get around or getting off, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Look, guys, thanks for sharing that. We'll move on quickly just to the weekend results.
Okay.
First we'll touch on here. We're going to touch on the men's physique. So this is the novice. Yep. And Rahul here, who you can see on screen, he actually went on to, I think, win the Open as well.
He did.
Jackson Chaos in second. I think the judges just said that he wasn't physique.
No, he's not.
Wide to the waist. Yeah, and then Thor Zachary here. So one on to Rahul. He'll go on to nationals with a bit of momentum as well. Yeah. I think I've seen Rahul compete a number of times. So obviously, again, someone else who just keeps popping up there and keeps coming back, which is great to see. Moving on to classic physique. And we have novice here with Adam Bodie and Eamon. And then we have in the open class, Dominic winning the open class A. Yeah. Joseph Morsaray, obviously Joe Swoll online. Yeah. I think Joe's someone who, me personally, I've seen compete a number of years, has been close to a pro card a number of times. And look, if I'm being honest, and hopefully Joe takes this in the right way, he just doesn't quite nail it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, his conditioning isn't up to scratch there. He has everything he needs. I don't know if you agree, Alex.
Seriously, everything.
Everything he needs, and I'm a huge fan of his physique.
He has the shape. He has the structure. He has the muscle bellies.
Muscle bellies. It's like perfect symmetry and everything.
Everything's there.
It doesn't
it's just a matter of. I think,
but when he stands next to someone who's got some lines and some conditioning on stage, he just looks 6 weeks out. And again,
true.
He just needs to just diet down and just keep doing what he's doing, develop his physique, but you keep bringing it in tighter and tighter because he's just it's a matter of when he decides to pull together, and that's when he'll get a pro card and hopefully go from there. So
I can actually see it
shout to Joe
from my place. He lives in the next apartment block.
Oh, really? Okay.
Go and remove any treats from his fucking pantry then.
Yes. Jordan Dashi,
Dashi, when he was between shows that it was only 1 week. There's not much difference you can make in 1 week, so he's just going to cruise along to the next show. There is so much difference you can make in 1 week. So much.
You just zero carb. Zero carb. I mean, look, if it comes down to it, anyone out there who wants to make a dramatic difference to your physique,
Yeah.
I mean, just fucking suffer. Like,
Yeah.
it's 1 week, 2 weeks.
It's what
Suffer.
we do.
It's what we
Food
do.
will
So
be there afterwards. Do you know what I mean?
they're too scared of getting flat and or losing muscle. It's like
Yeah.
if you're on any amount of PEDs, you're not losing muscle in that final week time.
No, let's hang on. Let's just quickly go back to what we were discussing with me earlier about having to make weight and the drastic things that we have to do in order to suck me right down from 130 odd kilos down to 160 to get on stage.
Yeah.
I'm generally ready as far as contest shape's concerned, and have been the last couple of years, it's probably still over 110 kilos.
Yeah.
In order for me to pull that additional weight to get under that weight cap, the shit that we have to do is heavy. Do you know what I mean? Like it fucking hurts when you are actually pulling that tiny whatever is left of fat and potentially a little bit of muscle.
Yeah.
Man, it's fucking hard to get it off. Like it doesn't move.
Yeah.
You know? Especially with PEDs in play.
Yeah.
If these guys were natty, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, true.
And so look, he just needs to suck it up, get hard, and win, because he has everything else there. Jordan Dashi he won the Open Class B. And look, I think he looked great. Obviously Jordan's been competing for a number of times.
Yeah.
For a number of years now, back to back. So look, shout out to him. He keeps getting back up there.
Yeah.
He went to Japan last year, just missed out there as well. Back here now. I think Jordan has all the size needed. Obviously, it's just about him It's just about him presenting his. Oh, Alex. It's just about him presenting his physique in a way that can be compared favorably.
Yeah.
Can be compared favorably to what he stands on stage next to. Okay.
Can you just bring that photo back up for a second?
Yeah. I will 1 second, and let me finish that. What I mean by this is, the last few years, Jordan stood on stage next to people who are very different in their structure, and I think one of the greatest things that could have happened for Jordan this year is Jackson Gruen winning Victoria, because Jackson's a tall guy. He takes up a lot of stage, like Jordan as well. And I think comparing those two on stage, like if Jackson's also a front runner, that's going to be really, really good for Jordan, because they're similar-ish physiques, but Jordan's going to have more maturity because he's competed before for a lot more times, and conditions probably a touch tighter as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really, really good for him to actually get to stand next to Jackson on stage and be compared.
Yeah, so something I wanted to touch on there is, if you have a look, we're both in different positions, but if you just look at the silhouettes of both people there, he's a pretty fucking similar size to me, man.
Yeah.
Pro classic physique guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To me, I've stood backstage with some of the top guys in Europe.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they are not small men.
They are not small at all.
And they are actually significantly larger than me.
Yeah.
It made me question how the fuck they could even make weight.
Yeah.
It's like their bones are made of sawdust or something, because those guys are big. I've had people, I'm probably going to upset a few people when I say this, but I don't give a fuck. I've had people knock Ashy and say that, he's too big, he's a super heavyweight, but I think he would be an excellent super heavyweight.
Yeah.
I also think that Sebum would be as well.
Well, yeah, he would.
Does that mean that he doesn't?
Yeah, but let's face it. If Jordan's standing on stage next to me, or next to David Fidel, it's not going to be the same comparison. So I think that with that height, until he has 4 inches on his arms and another 3 inches each side on his back, like he's got no business on a super heavyweight stage, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
Because even look, you see Bum on stage. Sebum's not placing top 5 Olympia, I don't think.
No.
On an open stage.
No.
Sebum's probably my favorite physique. But he's not going to push the open guys.
No.
So I think Jordan's
my point is people are saying that Jordan just needs to move to opens. As I said, while I believe that he would have to put in the work to get there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I still think like, is he structurally the most classic structure in the world? Maybe not.
No.
But he's still fucking classic in my eyes. He poses classic.
He is
He
classic.
presents classic.
And perhaps
He's
that's
big.
exactly
I
what
think it's classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's classic. And look, that's obviously because just for time, we'll just move on from that and move on to the bodybuilding. We had and bodybuilding was pretty competitive. In the Queensland lineup, we had Chris Bryant here in true novice. Obviously, pretty dense guy, good amount of muscle. Condition looked good as well. Could have had some more shine on him in that one there. Another novice was Corbin Kelly coming through. Shout out to just my guy here, Roman Jeet, first comp, and
It was awesome, man.
Yeah, he did well. Yeah, first comp and did well. It's not his best pose there, but they got him at the wrong time. Open middleweight, Isaac looked great. Just had a shit tan on. Sorry, Isaac. Yeah, I think he used suntan, and to be honest, look, he's clearly a standout physique wise for that division. But he used suntan on, and for me, I thought they weren't judging that because it was literally a different color to everyone else on stage. And hopefully Logan gives him the advice to just stick with pro tan. They know what they're doing. Everyone up there has the same tan. They can be judged fairly and
absolutely
same color. Yeah. So he just looked a little bit green on stage.
Yeah.
But great physique.
Just quickly, I've seen him in the gym a few times, man, and those photos there don't do him justice. His
quads in person are incredible shape. Really, really nice to look at.
Him and his missus, both not really nice people as well.
Okay. Andy Miller here won the open lightweights. Condition was fantastic. And this was really competitive with obviously Mitch, our mate Alex, coming third. He was probably a touch tighter in Sydney. Then you had Jack over here in second, I think Ariel's client. But Andy was a standout in that class as well. Shane Campbell, another standout in the open heavyweights. Condition again was out of this world. Obviously, we had Chris Bryant here and then Ryan Underwood.
It's nice to see Ryan back as well, man. Personally, I think that's where he belongs. I think he just needs to put size back on and stay in fucking opens.
Yeah.
And look, he's doing every show this year, so this season, we locked him there. Then we had obviously the super heavyweights. Josh Andrew, and Anthony Cligleros, and we've all seen obviously the spill out of this division and then the overall call out. Look, Anthony, I'll give my take on it first of all, then we can discuss it. Anthony, I thought, wasn't his best, super full, but I think by playing that size game, he probably came in a touch softer than he actually was.
Yes.
And probably just spilling. Now, for me, Josh obviously is still a few weeks out here, no doubt about it. Like Josh has all the potential in the world. And I was talking to his coach Matt, just the other day. He was saying, but like we could have brought him in tighter, but he had this whatever else condition or something. I'm like, but completely honest, like even leading up to it, he didn't look, at 2 weeks out, he didn't look 2 weeks out. 1 week out, didn't look 1 week out. Obviously,
I've got to interject here.
Go on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I spoke to Jake Campus, who is Anthony's coach.
Yeah.
And being a tall guy and being frustrated with the feeling of probably never actually feeling like I've ever got on stage, both blasting and dry. Yeah. I think that's probably the card they tried to play, given that this is essentially the lead up to nationals. Yeah. Yes, I do believe that they probably pushed it too far, but he was blasting full. From the front, it was pretty fucking solid. From the rear,
but even so, being so full, he still wouldn't look as full as Josh.
No, and I agree that that's the game that they don't need to play.
But in saying that, if you can say that about Matt and Josh, I can say that about Joe Swole and George from Flex. Because if anyone is going to bring Joe in condition, I thought it would be George. Or at least a Flex guy. I mean, one of Dean's guys.
My point was
does it come down to the coach or the athlete maybe not following the protocols, a mixture of both?
Yeah.
But you're not going to would you throw a fucking mod at someone 2 hours before they stepped on stage?
No, but look, obviously at that point in time, I'm not sure the context before and what condition they were in and whatever else. My idea is obviously if you need a mod, it's a last resort thing the night before, because that day of, I don't really want to touch any sort of extra water manipulation other than just sort of keeping what look we've achieved the morning of. The rest of the day is just basically if we eat a certain amount of carbs, we need 8 meals of water per gram of carbohydrate to transport into the muscle. That's all I'm drinking.
Yeah.
Right, and from there, then it's just an equation for me. This many carbs we're having this meal, then we need to sip this much water to make sure that because we've already achieved the dry look, the skin's thin, the look is there. So it's like how many carbs am I eating, and then how much water do I need to drink for those carbs. That's for me anyway. And I do my best with obviously trial carb ups to have that sort of data and that process already down pat before it comes to stage, before it comes to the fucking show.
Agreed.
And unfortunately for Josh, we've only ever seen him do one show and not on to the nationals, and it's going to be the same result this time because he's now out of nationals as well. So, look, I think obviously Josh has got the world at his feet. He's got the shape there. Matt tells me that people told him, for years that he'll never do anything and he'll never be a good bodybuilder. I don't know who's telling Josh that, because he's got fucking everything there to be a great bodybuilder. Just needs to develop the mindset and just needs time, like everything else. Fucking bodybuilding isn't a 1 year sport; it's a fucking 10-year sport. Do you know what I mean? That's the way it is. And Anthony's obviously, right there. I consider Anthony a good friend. I give him constructive criticism because I fucking care about what result he gets, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I just think that he needs to play to his strengths. Obviously, load early and then fucking dial it right back and come in super, super sharp. Because again, let's talk about nationals. He's not out muscling David on stage.
No.
It's not going to happen. David Fidel from Adelaide is going to stand on stage and fucking out muscle almost everyone. Right? It's just the way it's going to be. Thick, wide, powerlifting background. That's his strength. How's Anthony going to beat him? Turn around and just be so fucking peeled from the back, from the front, super tight abs, pretty-ish physique, on a large frame. I think that's what he needs to play to his strength for at nationals.
And
obviously,
and coming from a few conversations I've had both with Ant and Jake, I think that's exactly the way they'll go into nationals this year. Is they'll play Ant's game. Just that's his strength. That's what he'll play. Whatever happens. At the very least, he's going to put the best Anthony on stage that we've ever seen. The result is what it is. You can't control who shows up. I am very disappointed that he won't. He unfortunately.
And look, I think that you.
Sorry, bro.
You know why? When people post pictures like this online and say that's the overall winner, it's like you're going to attract negative feedback based on this. Do you know what I mean? It's going to happen because you should look at, like, if I go back to, fuck Tracy, you're 3 times, 4 times harder than this. Do you know what I mean? If we look at, like, Alex, when
everything
you won your pro
aside,
card, Alex, you were fucking hard as nails. Like when I won my card, it's like I put that on stage and it was like just. Anyway, I just think that
from a judging perspective, I totally understand it, because as far as the if we
I was there and I thought Josh won for sure.
Yeah. And so, as I said, if we remove condition from the equation, because obviously this is more than a condition game, it's a fucking bodybuilding game.
Yeah.
The guy's so well put together. I mean, could he make improvements? Yeah, there's areas that he could improve on, but from just a wow factor, he's so well put together. I guess what the most people are getting at is it's just a bit disappointing that he didn't bring the condition to match everything he has got there, because there is just so much going on, man. It is so fucking cool. It's such a cool physique. People can say whatever they want about him, but they can never deny the fact that that physique is so fucking cool. If it was nailed, man.
Yeah, man.
Talk about blasting full.
Yeah, quick talk about Aaron. Obviously, got up there and did a guest pose. Looked great. Obviously, it could be harder, but he's still 4 weeks out. And I think that
he'd had 100.
Knowing that he's going to improve
What was
from
the
this means that he's going to really ruffle some feathers in New York.
Always going to New York.
He'd been on a week of lows, and he'd had 100. I think he said 160 grams of carbs before he actually got on that stage.
No shit.
Yeah, so I think that he's actually made some really good improvements.
Really
since his last Olympia.
Yeah.
And looks even more balanced, which I think is the main thing that comes through.
There's a big
just balanced top to bottom.
Yeah,
I think
big
so.
Difference in his glutes.
And I think obviously he's got some momentum now going into New York. Obviously depending on the result there. I saw the fucking New York lineup today, and it is like it's stacked as well. Like if
it always is, that show is insane.
Yeah, I think that Bodybuilders Without Borders, I think that is what it was. They posted this, which was this one here. This is just some of the competitors. Obviously, they left Aaron off there for whatever reason. I think Aaron's reminded them here. Left me out. Won't be leaving me out, May 10th. But yeah, look, obviously you've got I think another one who's not here is that Fabio guy, another PTO Patrick Cure guy coming in. He looks great from I think Brazil, but he's a really great. Obviously, look, Kareth Bayo, who won it last year, I think, looks crazy. Looked crazy then. He's going to look crazy again. But when you look at this lineup here, with that Ulrich Evie guy, the white guy, really white but really grainy condition. Fabrizio, Cody Robot, Cole Official, this one here, I think it's that one there. Like a really, really strong lineup for the 2-on-2. So look, it's going to be a battle for Aaron, but I think that he's in the shape of his life, and so if he's ever going to do it, it's going to be now.
Yeah,
I think that he's definitely right up there in terms of his best. Well, he's definitely his best ever. So that's all you can do, really. Moving on now quickly to Women's Physique, and who won this? Tracy
Guile. Like Guile.
Tracy won this, obviously. Guile.
Yes.
Obviously against Tamarin in second. And Tamarin, we've discussed, looked great. She looks fantastic, but probably more bodybuilding than physique. And look, Tracy, obviously, we said it before, but we think you've got a fantastic mix of muscle, condition, femininity, and then obviously the stage presence as well.
Yeah.
So we really, really hope that we can get we get the competitors on the stage for you to be judged with, obviously, and then bring your best and hopefully have the chance to be awarded the pro card because you definitely deserve it.
Anyway, what will be.
Yes,
it's still going to be a great day.
Just talking about that. If you didn't get the competitors, is there overseas plans to head over and to try your luck at a show?
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What would be really cool is if you had those plans regardless. You had those plans regardless. It's like, well, if I win, I'll go and do a pro show. If I don't win, then I'll go and do another. Or if I don't,
and just roll it on.
Qualified. Then
come and link up with us in America.
Yes, exactly right. August. You get to
this is the figure open here.
Or vice versa.
This is the figure open, and so we had Lisa Boma with this. Yeah, so she looked great. She obviously really conditioned, but then a great shape for figure as well.
Yeah,
I think she won novice and first time.
I've known her for a while, for quite many years, probably 8-9 years. She was a natural competitor as well.
Okay.
I don't know if she still is, but But yeah.
Quads look crazy on stage. Had obviously tall, good X frame.
Yeah.
So she'll obviously be right up there.
Yeah.
Okay. And all three of these girls should do physique next week as well as figure.
Oh man, that's such a good idea. I'm gonna call them.
Call them all. And look, obviously Lisa won the overall, so she'll go to nationals with a full momentum, obviously.
Yes.
And definitely be up there pushing it. Wellness was absolutely stacked, and we had some potentially some controversial decisions here in terms of crowd favorites and whatever else. Georgia Douglas, who finished second here in the novice, to Kayla. I think Georgia walked out, and everyone sort of thought she was going to win. Judges obviously decided probably too hard a little bit for Wellness, and that's just given that obviously Kayla here, who won true novice, then one novice, and then went on to obviously being the first call out of the Opens, and then Georgia wasn't even in the first call out of the Opens. So controversial.
Yeah.
Obviously, really well developed down
I
below.
would love to have
Jordan.
heard the feedback there.
Yeah, me too.
Pardon?
I would love to have heard the feedback there. To me, I looked at her on stage. I was like she looks sick, but she looked like she was maybe a little bit too blown, like she'd overcarved or something. Her stomach looked a little distended.
I think her lower abdomen seemed to stick out a little bit. I haven't seen her
come down
flat
to
to know
that
if that's
wellness
normal or not.
particularly, because wellness particularly want that tiny flat waist.
Yeah.
They want a bikini waist on a fucking horse lower
body
body.
on my legs. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, essentially, yes, and I think that's the reason why Emily's fucking just killing it, because
so I competed
Emily's
against Emily in WBFF as well. So obviously different categories.
Yeah, well,
but she's so happy too that she went. I was so
back,
happy that she did this federation, because she could actually.
Yeah,
her legs and glutes are amazing.
Yeah.
Next level. Yeah.
Crazy good.
Quickly, was that Mel's first show? Has Mel competed before?
Yeah, Mel competed last year.
Oh, she did.
And she won true novice.
Yeah,
I think,
that's right. Yeah,
and novice.
Yeah,
and that's why she's just doing open there. But obviously, great result. Yeah. Second, Megan, obviously Matt's partner and Matt's one of Matt's clients. Fantastic rear shot.
Yeah, great rear shot.
Could have been much tighter, I thought as well. And I think she knew that, and Matt knew that. But look, regardless of that, she's obviously was. For Mel to even to be judged ahead of her is a fantastic result for Mel. Yeah. I think Mel's got the physique for wellness.
Yeah, she does.
Tiny waist,
yeah,
bikini upper, and then obviously slamming lower body. Big glutes, big hams, big quads.
Yeah.
And she's going to continue to develop those as well.
Yes.
But obviously, Emily's a professional. Like, whether we want to think of her as just like her first time in IFBB or not,
doesn't matter.
Emily's professional in every sense of the word. And I think her proportions.
And she did Melbourne as well. And she took every single bit of advice that the judges gave her for both shows, and she nailed it for this one as well. So, yeah,
I think that she's done amazing. So she'll go to obviously nationals with full confidence in if she can deliver this package again, then it's going to be probably rewarded on the day. And but I think front to side to back, she's the most complete up there. Yeah. They seem to nail the condition. They get that good balance of obviously flow and shape versus hardness.
Yes.
And her upper, to be honest, is nowhere near what I thought it would be in terms of she's done a really good job.
She shaped it right down.
Me too.
Yeah, shaved it down and positioned her hair obviously over her shoulders.
I watched her do that and I thought, that's smart. Well done.
Yeah, very smart.
Absolutely. But look, obviously you can see here, but
especially when she's
it's working.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So congrats to Emily, and obviously best of luck moving through to nationals. Onto bikini here, and obviously bikini's always stacked.
Always.
And there was true novice A, B, and C this time. Then novice A, B, and C. Then you had open class A with Katie Stones. I think she won Victoria.
Okay.
And came up here and did the show as well. And Alan, who I think won a previous show last year, maybe she came in second. Open class B, obviously with Kira, and then Rika. And
Rika
then,
also came from INBA or whatever it is, ICN.
Okay.
She did really well.
Then Jessica Mahoney, and then we've got here Katie Stones winning the overall. So she was overall champion of Victoria, and now overall champion of Queensland. So again, filling her with a bunch of confidence. Yeah, I think one of Scott's girls, and she has a really great shape for bikini. And look, they've got a condition in a really good spot, so it's probably just a matter of rinse and repeat for
I think so too,
Katie from here.
It's just right. Yeah.
Moving on here, obviously we see a few of these photos here from shout out to Axe Labs, one of the sponsors. Obviously do a great job supporting all the shows. Grill Labs, Gym Fix, Primabolics was there as well.
Yes, you were.
And then that's us. And but look, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now, guys. Okay, so look, a really good Queensland show, good standard all around. Queensland always is, though. It's always got a
really is. Yeah,
good audience.
One of the hardest.
big crowd. I know personally with the undefeated stand, we did amazing on the day. We did close to $5,000 in sales, which is really good for a local show for us. We always appreciate, obviously, the athletes supporting us and getting some season merch. Obviously, it is a take-home bit of memorabilia for you to remember the show by. But we always put a lot of time and effort into the merch, so we really appreciate that. But the Queensland crowd, Bella and John, do a great job making sure all the sponsors have somewhere to be. And to be honest with you, I think I like the fact that New South Wales and Queensland so far, they've had the sponsors outside of the actual competing auditorium or the stage.
Yeah.
At Victoria, you've got sort of this situation where the sponsors are put to the side of the audience seating, but from the sponsors you can see the stage and you hear the stage and everything as well. So that's great because, like, obviously as a sponsor, I'm also interested in the bodybuilding, so I can just watch the bodybuilding. But people just stand around your booth and watch, if that makes sense. And it limits sort of people actually being able to get to your booth or see you, if that makes sense. So at Queensland, New South Wales, as a sponsor, being on the outside means people were either watching the show or they're out looking at the booths and, generally interested in what's going on, whether, getting samples or purchasing meals, all that sort of stuff they could do outside of the area. They weren't distracted by the crowd or the noise. So I think that for Nationals next week, they'll do something in Victoria where they'll try and move the sponsors. I think they're trying to in the foyer. And I think that's a great idea, just again to separate the two, because when there's all that going on, it's kind of hard to focus on one thing. So but look, it's just some feedback for there. When do you get down for Nationals, Trace?
Thursday night.
Thursday night, okay.
Thursday night, and then we're saying.
And you're on Saturday?
I'm on Sunday. So the women's show's on Sunday.
Okay, so men first.
I assume it'll be physique women up first. I guess. So otherwise, it's usually figure first and then physique. But this year they changed it up on us. But I think it was quite a big audience for women's physique this year because I had about 25 people that came to watch me. Which was very cool.
Hopefully they all make a trip down to Victoria and make it worth their while.
Either way, but so we'll probably be in that first part anyway, and then they'll do the wellness and the bikini afterwards. Yeah. So you guys can both be there.
Well, guys, obviously. Yeah, I'm based down here, so we'll be at the registration.
Oh, yay!
I can actually meet you in person
and hug you.
Alex, are you coming down? You can hug my wife because she's a hugger.
Okay, done.
Like I said, big Turkish family. She's the hugger one. I'm just the fist pumper.
Fist pumper. You got it. Alex, are you coming?
But
I would have loved to have come, especially given that the Parabolic stand is going to be down there as well. But unfortunately, just being sort of so close to my travel as well.
It's true, actually. Yeah,
the costs involved and whatnot. It just realistically wasn't viable to do another trip and have to arrange all my prep shit around being away for a weekend. And as I said again, the additional expense. So we're staying home, and I'm very, very busy with work at the moment. So I'll most likely spend the weekend working, which. Well, it doesn't.
And watching the YouTube. Support the YouTube.
Sorry, that.
And watching the live stream on the YouTube as well.
I guess I got to hug you before I go.
Get your hug fix in before you go. Alex is a hugger. He loves that.
I know.
I'm very affectionate.
The guys and girls watching, obviously, if you are in Victoria or thinking about making the trip down or across to visit the show, definitely do, because there's nothing like a bodybuilding show in the live and flesh. It's you get to see the physiques better. You get to obviously meet all the athletes, mingle with the sponsors, grab some freebies, buy some merch, enjoy the show. Been across 2 days, you really do get the chance to enjoy the men and then come back, enjoy the women's show. Interesting. Is the women on in the morning of the Sunday?
Yes, 11 a.m. start. I think men are Saturday.
Yeah. So which is different, obviously, to normal, because normally the women are starting 2 or 3 p.m. So, I mean, look, it doesn't change much. I prefer to be on early anyway as a male. But, I mean, it's just interesting that it will be different for you guys. You can get out the way nice and early. And in Melbourne, there's plenty of good spots to eat. So,
oh my God, I know.
Have a food.
I'm staying until
you can definitely
so I'll come back
have a ulcerative colitis flare up and then fly back home. I've got some prednisolone for you to borrow somewhere
Yeah,
down
actually,
here.
yeah.
Okay,
I might have to pack that.
but look, thanks so much for joining us,
Thank
Trace.
you
We'll
for
leave it there for
inviting
this
me. It was an
week.
honor talking to you
Um,
guys. Really, I've had a great time.
No, we're huge fans of your physique. We do hope that
Thank you.
we get to see a full lineup on the stage at Nationals, and we know it's only a matter of time for yourself. So hang in there. Shout out to Milad, obviously your partner, and we'll see him down at the show as well. Yeah, keep bringing the energy you guys bring, because it's definitely contagious and it rubs off on everyone around.
Thank you both very much.
Alex, I'm sure it's time for you to eat. You're probably going hyper by now.
Starting to get a bit sweaty, yeah.
Okay. Well, make sure you say hi to Tash for us, and passing that love, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah.
But look, guys, obviously, thank you all for watching, for subscribing. Please follow Tracy's journey
Thank you,
on
Mike.
Instagram and online. Please, like, subscribe, and leave a comment for us down below, so we can keep bringing you more of Australian bodybuilding from the athlete's perspective, and keep spreading that good, positive message that we are trying to do. Until next time, everyone else, peace, much love.
Bye.
See you soon.
Wow.